to tell you how important next week's going to be when the Boston Red Sox come to town. Hopefully the second-place Boston Red Sox by the time they get here to Camden Yards. 11 games at home, and I am off to the land of Cleve for the Ravens and the Browns on Sunday. Luke Jones will be on the backfields in Owings Mills. If you miss anything, you can check it all out in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world at WNST.net. Meantime, the Turtles are headed back to Florida, second week in a row. Should be a stiffer test for them at Central Florida this weekend. This guy covers all things college football at Bleacher Report. You can follow his journey out on Twitter as well, and it's in the bleachers. He is Michael Felder, hailing from Charlotte, North Carolina, where hometown of Muggsy Bogues and Steve Smith. We welcome Michael on for the first time. What's going on, Michael? Good day to you, sir. A great week 3 of college football after a little bit of a tepid week 2, right?
Yeah, week 2 had some good finishes, so it finished stronger than it started. But yeah, looking forward to getting into week 3 here as we got some marquee matchups.
Well, let's start with Maryland, which is not a marquee matchup, but certainly the local flavor. A couple pushover wins with some bad teams and, some nice sunshine for DJ Durkin's bunch. Central Florida, I hope they take care of business. This is all part of getting that 6 wins and being bowl eligible and all that, but they'll start to see Purdue and Penn State down the line. Some thoughts about the Terps and Durkin from you, first of all, and coming over from that Michigan program and whatever the expectations are. I think Maryland fans here, over all of my lifetime, have been a little skeptical, but this guy feels like he has different pedigree, and certainly the one thing the Maryland program is going to have is that Under Armour money.
Yeah, well, I think the big thing for him is the energy. I look at what he brings to the table. Energy starts, and we see it on the ground. Before he even coached the game, we saw it on the ground in recruiting. Guys getting excited, guys getting big commits, guys like Josh Kando. And then you see on the field, this team plays with a purpose. They play with energy. I don't care if it's Howard or anybody else. The fact is, they come out, they're energized, they want to play, they want to compete, and they want to feel like they feel like they belong on that football field. So to me, the expectations are for him to get the program going in the right direction. I think that starts by getting back to bowl games, and I think consistently getting to bowl games, and then in special years, challenging for an opportunity to win that East. A very crowded East with Ohio State and Michigan, and obviously Michigan State.
I think playing the Patsies to start the season, especially when you don't know what your quarterbacking situation, you got some guys that aren't on your roster that are going to be there later for the Big Ten. I mean, it's been a nice little ramp up for Maryland. I would have hated for this to be a season where Maryland had one of those marquee kickoff games and got their ass kicked the way, let's say, USC did, or the way LSU thought they were just going to go up to Lambeau. Week 1 was a real sort of mess for a lot of programs, right?
Yeah, it was. It was a tough week. But the good thing is it takes 2 losses to completely knock you out of the picture. For LSU, 2 losses is something that can absolutely happen very quickly because they don't have answers at the quarterback spot. For USC, they've got an opportunity to have that second loss this weekend against Stanford. But I think those games still, they drive a little bit of revenue. You get a chance to measure your team up real early. For Maryland, they're still waiting to see where they measure up. Although going to play Central Florida, we'll see just how far they are behind a Michigan team that really took it to the Knights a week ago.
All right, biggest game. It won't take long, man. We're going to be up for breakfast on Saturday. Florida State and Louisville. One of the large games in Louisville's storied history. And, of course, Johnny Unitas and our man Chris Redmond down there and all that. But, this is a Florida State team with a very, very high expectations. And this is a nice football game to start our day, right?
Yeah, it's a great game. I look at this, and obviously Louisville's Lamar Jackson is a guy that's starting to put his name into the Heisman race because of the statistics. I think the key now is a lot of people get to watch how he operates, see what he does. A guy that can crush you on design runs, but he's really good in the passing game, which I don't think he gets enough credit for. I think that against this Florida State secondary is going to be monumental. A secondary that's going to be playing without Derwin James, but a secondary that still has a ton of talented players that can get the job done. We should see Nate Andrews come back after an injury kept him out of the first 2 games for the Noles. So I think you lose one, you get one back. And I think Andrews and Matthew Thomas are both going to be working to shadow Lamar Jackson. That may be the matchup to watch in this game on any given play, whether it's Thomas or Andrews, both of those guys operating as a spy to keep to keep Jackson in check. I'm looking forward to this. So I think Florida State with DeAndre Francois, another quarterback out of that class of 2015, like Lamar Jackson. I think Francois is going to get the W here, but I think Lamar Jackson is going to get a lot of wows out of people.
Michael Felder covers all things college football for Bleacher Report. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at @InTheBleachers. For these matchups in Week 3, we're going to get real normalized here real soon, and it's going to be all SEC versus SEC. But for at least one more week, Oregon, Nebraska, that's kind of wild. And then obviously in the evening, you also have Ohio State and Oklahoma. Some cross-conference things going on here this week that will, for better or worse, measure things up. I know the SEC was a little disappointed a couple weeks ago that they didn't measure up, but there are a couple more opportunities here.
Yeah, I think the key, obviously, Oklahoma taking on Ohio State is a big one. I'm looking forward to seeing the Silver Bullets defense try to stop the Oklahoma Sooners offense. I think if they can get shutdowns early and Ohio State can get on the board quickly, I think we may see a game that gets sort of out of hand the way we saw with Oklahoma taking on Houston. Notre Dame takes on Michigan State, a rivalry kind of being revisited for them. Michigan State still trying to figure out what they are on the offensive side. And Deshaun Kaiser, we're going to see if he can carve up that secondary. Oregon against Nebraska is interesting to me because I think a lot of folks haven't watched Oregon. I think both of their games have been on the Pac-12 network, or one game on the Pac-12 network, one game on ESPN. But if they were both so late, that game was so late on ESPN that a lot of folks didn't tune into it, especially when we had the Arizona State-Texas Tech game going on. I think a lot of people don't realize just how much Oregon has struggled at times stopping the run and playing defense in general. So I want to see Nebraska really take it to them. I think Nebraska got an opportunity for a huge win here, and I think that would go a long way for them, for people realizing that they're a threat in the Big Ten West. But you got some of those intersectional matchups. They're going to be interesting to watch. The conference schedules are also getting started.
Well, yeah. I mean, and Alabama's got to go to Ole Miss. Some thoughts about Ole Miss? And I mean, this has tripped Alabama up before. There's some long memories there.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss is going to get a win. I do. I look at this football team by Ole Miss, and I think they're built to do a lot of things that are going to give Alabama problems. One, they are not afraid to pressure you early from an offensive standpoint. They will put the press on you by scoring the football. They will use their big wide receivers, whether you look at DeMaurice Stringfellow or you're talking about A.J. Brown. They've got big DK Metcalf. They've got big wide receivers that can make plays over cornerbacks, and I think that's something that they have no problem relying on. Chad Kelly can put the ball wherever he wants it. The key for him is going to be to not turn the ball over. They haven't thrown an interception in the last two games, both victories for the Ole Miss Rebels, and I think the key for them is going to be to continue to not turn the ball over, hit big spots with your wide receivers, and then they can force Alabama into a game that they don't want to play. Alabama does not have a run game right now, and if you force them to consistently throw the football, they're going to be a team that has to rely on a true freshman in Jalen Hurts going up against, even though the secondary is missing some pieces for Ole Miss, a secondary that can still make plays on the football, and I think that's where you're going to see some opportunity. So Ole Miss, to me, is built as a football team that's going to give Alabama some problems, especially with a quarterback run threat. So I would not be surprised to see Ole Miss walk away with a W. This game's going to be really big. Although if this game's going to be really big, Ole Miss, it can take them completely out of the playoff picture if they lose. And for Alabama, as we saw a year ago with the loss of Ole Miss, they can still be in it.
The evening is interesting from a Big Ten perspective. Not just that the Terps are playing down at UCF. That's a 7 o'clock game. That's on the CBS Sports Network. But the simultaneous 7:30 games in the Michigan State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. Two Big Ten teams going on the road. We're trying to figure out what the Big Ten is. As you said, Michigan State trying to find itself. Michigan apparently has a bit of a cream puff this week with Colorado coming in to the Big House. That's a 3:30 game. But for the power teams in the Big Ten and the teams that we fear and we're going to see back to back at the Halloween sort of time here for Maryland, how do you break this Big Ten down right now, Michael?
For me, I look at it, I think Ohio State is still the class of the Big Ten, even though they had a slow start last week, aided by the weather delay. I think that they still are the team that has the quarterback that I trust the most out of any quarterback in the conference in JT Barrett. I think they're going to find ways to create not just explosive plays, but sustain long drives. I think that's going to make them a problem. I think Michigan's probably number 2 in that mix. The Wolverines, to me, are one. I'm excited for this weekend against Colorado because Colorado has one of the best secondaries in the country, and I'd like to see this Michigan team with Wilton State really measure themselves against the quality secondary. We got 6 guys in the secondary that can all really, really play, including true freshman Tony Jolbitz. So I'm looking forward to watching what Colorado can do against them. And then for me, the third team, I probably would go with Wisconsin right now at big win against LSU. They stick to their plan, which I really like. I think Iowa could claim that spot as well. Obviously, C.J. Beathard's there for them, and Desmond King is an absolute monster on the defensive side. And then I think Nebraska and Michigan State are right there in that mix. I think the top 6 teams in this league, I think Ohio State and Michigan are the 2 best. And then after that, I think those next 4 teams are all kind of duking it out for that third through 6 spot. And when we look at them, I think they're all pretty good. Michigan State's got to prove that they've got a quarterback that they can believe in Tyler O'Connor, a guy that really was shaky at times in that first game against them and obviously was frustrated for them. They're looking to get to one feature back, whether it's LJ Scott or Gerald Holmes or Madre London. Who cares? They just want one guy to be their go-to running back, so someone's going to have to prove that out. Against a Notre Dame team this weekend and with Deshaun Kaiser, one of the top quarterbacks in college football, that can really put pressure on you by moving the ball through the air. Equanimeous, St. Brown, they've got some ballers at the wide receiver spot that can really go out and catch the ball. C.J. Sanders is there. So I'm curious to watch how Michigan State counters a team that really is going to attack them through the air. We'll see if that no-fly zone defense comes back. But right now, after watching them play against Furman, they seem like they're going to have some holes in the passing game.
He is Michael Felder. You can follow him out on Twitter at In the Bleachers or at Bleacher Report, covering college football all weekend long. Last thing for you, I know USC took their lumps and probably will take some more lumps this week. What can Stanford prove in that conference by beating up on Southern Cal at this point?
I think the key for them is they got to go out and get a W. They played Kansas State, and then they had a week off. I think this team has to prove that they are more than Christian McCaffrey left, Christian McCaffrey right, and Christian McCaffrey throwing the ball and then he returns kicks and punts. I think they got to prove that they've got a little bit more of a football team, a quarterback in Ryan Burns that they can trust, a guy that can move the ball vertically to other targets like Trent Irwin. They've got to prove that. I think that we're going to be looking at a very close football game. I think USC is a really good football team. The problem with them is they are not built to challenge an Alabama football team, and the way that they went about it, I didn't like the game plan. I think things exploded for them, and I think that was their main problem. I think when you see them play the Stanford football team, we're going to see a USC team that, one, has an opportunity and should expect to come out with a W, and two, they're going to prove that they can, one, get some stops on defense. I love their linebacking group. I think this is maybe the best linebacking group they've had at USC since Maluga and Cushings and Clay Matthews. I think this group is going to set the tone for them. Even though they've got some depth issues on that defensive front, I think the key for them is going to be that linebacking group, along with a very, very talented secondary led by Adoree Jackson and Biggie Marshall, going out and making some big plays.
Ton of college football all day Saturday. Obviously, a ton of baseball all weekend. And, of course, the Ravens on Sunday at 1 o'clock in Cleveland. Michael, great having you on, man. I appreciate the visit. We'll be following your journey out there on Twitter at In the Bleachers as well as at Bleacher Report. Appreciate the time today, man.
Oh, it's always good. You guys take it easy.
You got it. He is Michael Felder. He has a lovely picture of his cat on his shirt, which next time I bring him on, I'm going to talk to him about that. In the Bleachers is the way to find him on Twitter because I love my cat. You guys know that. You can find me out on the Bahia Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day. All weekend long, I'll be out in Cleveland. Luke will be at the ballpark. If there's any breaking news at all, it'll come to you first on the WNST tech service. That, of course, powered up by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Our morning newspaper ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning, and that's powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Reminder, Eric Weddle will join us on Tuesday night at Adams Jeep in Aberdeen for the Bone Marrow Registry. We'll be swabbing there for There Goes My Hero and for the DKMS and Delete Blood Cancer. Adams Jeep, Hartford County, Eric Weddle. It's going to be a great conversation and a fun evening, I think, on Tuesday night. And hopefully the Ravens are 2-0 by the time we get there. Lots of good stuff going on. You can always email me, nasty@WNST.net. Complaints, criticism, all that good stuff. Our Giants bus is selling really well for next month. So if you want to go see the Giants and the Ravens play up at the Meadowlands, toss me a note. Check out the website. We are very, very active throughout social media. Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Instagram, as well as streaming live on Facebook Live and our YouTube WNSTV channel. And it can all be found in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.